¿Qué pasa, Leute? Herzlich willkommen bei Iron Mike Bodybuilding and now switching to English. So welcome you to Iron Mike Bodybuilding, to my channel, and welcoming here, found him in Dubai at the beach, David Hasselhoff. It's incredible. David Hasselhoff, thank you very much for being
Because
here.
of the outfit here, I look like a lifeguard, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
I
Really.
catch women into a false sense of security, like, oh, he's safe, he can rescue me with
That's
his
it.
muscles and his lifeguard outfit.
With the chicken legs. I'm really proud to have here in my Real Talk podcast, in German Klartext podcast, a new episode with the godfather of biohacking international himself. It's Tony fucking Huge. Yes. We met each other yesterday here at the Venus gym, and we decided to have a little bit of conversation and content, and we were writing a little bit before. And so I'm very proud to have you here to talk a little bit about biohacking and what is biohacking about. And that's my intro with you. This is pretty much a German, for German, this is pretty much a new word. In the last years, more and more people were coming about, I'm a biohacker, but they were just people like using supplements or reading about supplements. So my question for you is, what is a biohacker in your definition? How did you get to be it? And how do you biohack?
And maybe you have to break those down one by one.
Yeah.
But the first thought I had was, you said biohacking may be something new to Germany. First thing I thought is World War II, perhaps Germany was the world leader in biohacking.
Pregnant alone?
Was that something discovered in World War II? Okay, well,
Yes,
I know the military at that time was experimenting with making super soldiers and all kinds of other experimental science to improve
So I guess
human
we were
function.
pioneers. Yes, yes.
And I think, you know, at that
I guess
time,
it's,
Germany
I guess
was
it's the word
pioneer
that has
biohacking.
a new definition for the Germans, because they don't know the word and they like correlating the word with something else.
Yeah.
So that's a new definition for Germany.
Taking biohacking as its own genre, it doesn't really capture people, because
Yeah.
like just self-improvement for the sake of self-improvement is not interesting to someone. But if someone has a hobby, they want to do MMA, they want to do bodybuilding, they want to be a gamer. Any hobby that you have, you can improve your performance at with upgrading your biology through chemistry. There's many different types of biohacking. You can biohack yourself, modify your own biology through chemistry or through lifestyle. People like Andrew Huberman or other influencers that tell you to go out in the sunlight first thing in the morning to reset your circadian rhythm, for example. That would be like lifestyle biohacking. And then you have genetic editing your genes. That's a form of biohacking. Or augmenting your body with technology, like replacing your eyes with eyes that can zoom and see more than your eyes can actually see, like augmenting your body with technology. So you'd have to break down biohacking and all these different ways of doing it. But I focus on chemical biohacking, but chemical biohacking by itself is not as powerful as synergistically combining it with lifestyle biohacking. So I do lifestyle biohacking combined with, for example, weightlifting would be like a lifestyle biohacking, something you physically do to upgrade yourself, to make yourself stronger. But then you add the chemistry with it and the synergy, that's when you get bodybuilders. You get superhumans that have superhuman amounts of muscle. They couldn't do it with just chemistry. They couldn't do it with just lifestyle. But the combination of two, very synergistic. Problem is, there's a lot of taboo against things that are not natural.
That's it.
I have my conspiracy theories about why there's a taboo against it. But I think in the interest of human progress and our actually wanting to improve ourselves and have a better quality of life or be better at any different hobby or goal, we have to embrace biohacking, because if you don't, you're going to get left behind. Just like athletes that are competing, if they're not using a little something, a little chemistry, they're going to lose. Every successful athlete is using chemistry. They're just lying about it. And my mission is to break that taboo. And so everybody has an equal playing field and has access to the knowledge and the actual chemistry to biohack themselves. That's my mission.
Okay, so I'm thinking about a story I saw of you, which was very inspiring, where you were like in the car, like talking, and you were talking about people you've seen all day that not are thinking anything about their body, no biohacking, that are just making their lives from morning till the evening, and they're like getting rid of their life every year more.
Like every year we're 1 year closer to death.
Yeah, and that was very got me thinking about it. That really that's something that very less people do, this type of biohacking, because most of the people think that as you manipulate anything, it's bad. It's getting worse. It's like chemical. It's bad. So this was very inspiring for me because I see, most of all in Germany, that there's a big taboo about biohacking when it comes to chemicals. So when you started that, was there a big taboo too? And you were just the first one. How was it about crossing borders with that? How were the first reactions of people when you started talking about gear?
Extreme hatred.
Okay.
Everybody hated me for telling the truth.
When
All I
were
was
that?
doing was telling the truth about what bodybuilders use, what athletes use, what super successful business people use to biohack their brain. I'm just being honest, telling the truth. People hate honesty. People can't handle the truth. And even the people that are listening, you say, oh, I want the truth. No, you don't. If we sat long enough, I could find mental roadblocks that you have where you just cannot and don't want to hear or accept what the truth is.
Yeah.
And so I have to use sensationalism, I have to use examples, and I have to help people break through to make a real pivot in the way they think about chemistry. Because right now, everybody's being brainwashed and programmed by the governments and the elite. I know it sounds like a conspiracy theory. Yeah. Everybody's being brainwashed to just focus on what makes them profit and prevents human progress and competition amongst the higher and higher ranks. So I just, and also like you're born with your own genetics.
Yeah.
Like why is it not okay for me to manipulate my chemistry to have equal genetics as you? Why are we stuck with the genetics that we're born with? That to me is like saying, oh, you're stuck in the social class you're born in. Oh, you were born poor, you're never allowed to be wealthy, right? The American dream, which I come from America, and I don't agree with a lot of stuff about America, but I was raised in a culture where you can become whatever you want to be. You know, if you're born poor, you can become rich and you can obtain the American dream. You're born not good at sports, you can work hard and you can become an Olympic athlete. You can be whatever you want to be. Yeah. Oh, but you can't use chemistry to level the playing field and modify your genetics. You're stuck with your genetics. Well, then you're pretty much going to be stuck and not be able to make the progress you want.
Okay, I see. So was that your first target? How did you grow up? Did you want to be a bodybuilder, a super sportsman? What was your target? What was your first sport, and when did come the first contact with chemistry?
The two first sports I had one was bodybuilding. Age 12, I had my first kiss with a girl, and it was so euphoric and so pleasurable. I said, I just want more kisses. It's that simple. Like, that's my life goal. I want more of those kisses.
Kisses with bodybuilding?
She was so hot.
Yeah.
I mean, this sounds weird. I'm in 6th grade, but she's so hot, and she was like my dream girl at the time. Oh my God, she kissed me. But then she said, oh, I want a boyfriend with abs. I mean, she was a classic like Valley girl.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I want a man with money and abs. And I'm like, okay, well, I have to become rich and I have to have an amazing physique if I want more kisses from girls. Right? That's my early.
That's logical, yeah.
If I grew up in a different culture, like a Muslim culture or something, I would have a completely different outlook and goal on life. But that was it. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to get muscle. I don't know how to get muscle. I went and I bought magazines. I was a nerd. So I'm like, okay, I'll buy every single bodybuilding magazine. And I did from age 12 until age 17. Every bodybuilding magazine that was published, I bought it and I read it. But none of them really talked about steroids. So I thought that I could obtain the physiques that were in the magazines through hard work. You know, and of course, as time goes on, you start to realize that chemistry is required to obtain these physiques. And yeah, I felt a little bit lied to.
Okay.
I felt like it was the whole fitness industry was a little deceitful because I had a $300 allowance at the time, with inflation and the cost of things increasing, maybe it was like a $500, $600 allowance now.
Yeah.
So I had a large allowance. I came from a fairly wealthy family.
Okay.
And with that allowance, I would go to GNC and I would buy every single supplement. I had every supplement in GNC at home. And as a 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old, for example, the first batch of creatine that ever came out, the first time it hit the shelf, boom, I went and bought that first batch. I was like 13 years old or something like that, right?
But how far did you get with that? How far did you get with supplements and natural?
I got a good physique. Everybody thought I was on steroids, but I could never get the... I thought it was a great physique, but then when I actually saw bodybuilders on steroids and their muscles were harder and they were more vascular, I'm like, oh, okay. It's required to get that. But I reached my natural potential at age 20 years old. And like to get any more muscle or better physique would be such a huge amount of work. I wouldn't be able to do all the other work, business and school that I needed to do. So I spent 10 years of my life, you know, training and dieting and trying every day in diet and training, and realizing finally when I was age 30, I realized, oh, I'm never going to have the most amazing physique that I want.
Until age 30?
Until age 30, I first started steroids. Well, I planned when I was younger. I started really learning about steroids when I was 18 years old. And my friends started doing steroids. But I said, no, I'm a noble natty at the time. I'm like, I'm going to beat them. Like, they're going to do steroids and I'm going to beat them as a natural. And I could kind of hang with them, actually, because I had researched so much about bodybuilding, knew so much about training and diet. I could actually hang with steroid users at 18, 19, 20 years old. But then, you know, at a certain point, you can't keep up, and then you start creating this delusion in your head as a natural that you actually can keep up with these guys when you can't. So I was a delusional natural, which is one of the motivations I have to prevent other people from being delusional about their physique. Anybody who says, you know, they're natural and they have an amazing physique, unless they have incredible genetics, like they're delusional. Like once you do steroids or take chemistry and your physique improves in ways you never even imagined, then you're like, oh, okay, I can never go back to being natural again.
Understand you.
It's not just the muscle size. It's not just the fat loss. It's the muscle density and maturity. There's a certain look to it. And once you get it, you're like, oh, and you look in the mirror and you feel it, and you feel the muscle density, or a girlfriend feels it and they're like, they feel that hardness to the muscle. Oh, that's where it's at. That's what I want. I don't need to be huge. I like this definition. I like the hardness.
That's it. So what was your first cycle with 30 years? You were like researching years about. So what was the first cycle?
Well, you know what? Let me go back to the sports real quick, because I had two sports. So it was bodybuilding and then it was taekwondo. But taekwondo was not so much for fighting as it is
That's
for
what your kicks look like.
I can make like really pretty kicks. I can fly in the air and do flying
See it in the gym,
but there's no flexibility anymore. I'm nervous because I could rip a muscle really easily. So yeah, with taekwondo and you know, a lot of exercise, I built a really good physique at a young age, but you can never get to the level of like a magazine physique without steroids. And I did come to that realization. And then I felt, you know, being lied to, and then later I wanted to teach other people about these lies so that they don't waste a decade of their life trying to achieve their dream physique and waste their time. I value people's time. I hate to see people working really hard at a goal and then being lied to, and they're in a hamster wheel wasting their time. To me, like, if you waste someone's time by lying to them, it's like theft. It's like you're stealing money from them. Time is money. So I hate to see these mainstream monopolies like the medical industry and the pharmaceutical industry and the supplement industry. I hate to see them lying because they're stealing people's time. We only have so much time on Earth. You want to achieve your dream physique? It's going to require chemistry. You're going to take 10 years wasting your time to figure that out, or you want to hear the truth right now? I want to give people the truth, let them make their own decisions. So fast forward, my first cycle, age 30, was Trenbolone, the oral steroid.
Was trending in that time, huh?
I chose Trenbolone because I wanted a dry look, and I was doing the ketogenic diet, and I knew I was going to train extremely hard, so I wanted the performance elements of Trenbolone. Remember, I had been researching steroids for 10 years, but I didn't take them until then. So I knew what Trenbolone was, I knew what it should do, but I was chicken to inject myself. I'm like, I'm just going to do oral-only cycle, Trenbolone. I understand the benefits and drawbacks of this. But then after a week of Trenbolone, I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is so stupid. I should add testosterone to make a big difference. It'd be healthier. And I got over the fear, and then I took my first testosterone injection.
That would be my first question, because there were two things that I found nearly dumb. The one thing is ketogenic diet, but you can try it a few weeks and then it works. But then you get a lot of, I don't think, with less glycogen, you can't build more muscles. It's okay for insulin sensitivity for a short time, but then I tried it too. I was like 6 weeks and like going well, and then like, okay, what's happening with me? And people like our whole life on ketogenic diet are like telling you, my muscles are strong, and you look at them, you say, no, bro, they're not. They're like soft. And the next thing I made a few YouTube videos about in Reels is to to make a kickstart with orals because you are feared of injections. And that's what you did also, but after 1 week you said, okay, no, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, fine. It was just a fear of injecting.
Okay.
Really. So I got over the fear after a week. I realized how stupid, I knew how stupid it was, but like until I actually did it, I'm like, this is so stupid. I just need to get into injections. Because I told myself, even when I was 18 years old, I said, okay, I know testosterone levels decline with age.
Yeah.
I'm going to take testosterone at age 35, and then I might as well do steroid cycles at that point. So actually, when I planned on doing the first steroid cycle, I told myself I don't want to be on steroids the rest of my life. I want to do a couple cycles and get my physique to where I want it to be, and I'll maintain using something healthier. And I had friends that were using SARMs since SARMs first ever got discovered. And I watched to make sure they didn't grow a third eye or, you know, their penis didn't fall off or some weird side effect we don't know about. They never had any side effects from the SARMs, and they also didn't have the same effects as steroids. But I thought, what happens if we take a higher dosage of SARMs? Nobody had ever tried that at the time. So I started taking higher dosages of SARMs as subsequent experiments.
Of which one?
I think I started with Osterine was the first one, yep. And then I just went through all of them and all different dosages.
How far did you go with Osterine? How high?
Maybe like 80 milligrams.
Okay,
like,
for what time?
Like 10 times, 10 pills.
Yeah.
And I kept doing blood work along the way with all these different SARMs.
Yeah.
And you know, there's certain SARMs, the more you take, the more they work, and there's certain SARMs, the more you take, it just doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Osterine, you go up and up in dosage, and you don't get that much more for it.
Okay.
It's not one I would megadose. Osterine's better at just a low dosage, long period.
I would guess LGD would be more effective in a higher dosage.
LGD gets effective at a higher dosage, but then also you get this weird effect of like the body temperature and like sort of blood pressure increases from it, which is similar to steroids. So I'd say like a medium dosage of it. S23 was a pretty crazy one to go with a higher dosage. Up to 100 milligrams I went.
Okay.
Most people would take 20 milligrams, like 5 times the dosage anybody else would take. That I didn't feel crazy side effects from, and my muscles looked like I was on tren. I mean, but you do those level of dosages, then you're also going to get side effects. So you got to find the sweet spot with these things, where there's really no side effects, but you get a lot of benefits from them. Steroids are the same way, but steroids can kind of produce side effects at any dosage to some extent, but the SARMs, you can take a low enough dosage to where there's really no apparent side effects. So
the more,
my goal was to develop my physique and then maintain it with a low dosage of the SARMs over a long period of time. But the first Trenbolone cycle, the goal wasn't to build muscle. The physique class came out at that time, and I thought, okay. I competed in like the second physique competition in my city. It was brand new. It was very early. So I was like, okay, physique I can do. Bodybuilding, I would have to take a lot of steroids to get really big. I have an ectomorph body. I have a fast metabolism. For me to get as big as a bodybuilder would be difficult. But I already had a lot of muscle as a natural. I didn't need the steroids to put on muscle at all. In fact, I thought I might be too big to compete in physique. I need to lose muscle. That's why I did the ketogenic diet. I was not trying to build muscle. If anything, I was trying to lose muscle. I wanted to get my body weight down and just look super shredded, which I did. I got super, super shredded. So I was doing crazy cardio. I was doing stair runs. I was training so hard. I was going catabolic on purpose because I was like, I want to work out so hard that I get totally peeled and to the point where I lose muscle. I'm going to try to lose muscle. I did so much cardio that I was breathing ammonia out because my body was breaking down muscle protein to try to get any glycogen to be able to survive through the workouts. And in the end, I did a body composition analysis, very accurate about my amount of muscle I have. In the end, after 6 weeks, I actually gained 2 pounds of muscle because of my first steroid cycle. Maybe I kind of wasted my first steroid cycle. Right? Because the first cycle I could have gained 20 pounds of muscle instead I gained 2 because I was starving myself. But that's still pretty amazing. I was starving myself, ketogenic diet, training 2.5 hours every day, and I still built 2 pounds of muscle. It was amazing, and I had no side effects, none whatsoever. I felt amazing. I felt superhuman. I was like, wow, steroids aren't that bad. This is amazing. You know, it was a light cycle, but still, it was a game changer. I mean, I could not have built the physique I did without steroids, because if I would have tried to train that hard and go on the ketogenic diet without, I would have lost all my muscle without steroids. The steroids, for my purpose, were not to build muscle. It was only to preserve the muscle. And increase the rate of recovery so I could train harder and so I could train harder. That's why I used the steroids.
Did you compete then?
Yeah, I competed. I got 3rd place, and it was very competitive. And the feedback from the judges were, you're too muscular for physique.
Okay, that was the beginning of the physique class, so the physique was like very small people, very thin people, like Ken models, something like that. In Germany, I say like a soccer player, so something like that with the hair also. Yeah, today this class developed much different. So
now the physique guys are huge and muscular, but back then I was too muscular for physique. But then later they created classic physique, which is perfect for my physique is built for classic physique. Because well, now it's built for physique, I suppose. But classic physique was for me, and I competed many times in classic physique, and I did very well. And I won overall in a competition. You know, I got the sword and all this kind of stuff in Los Angeles, a competitive place, and I competed in nationals in Miami and did well. So I do have a physique for classic physique, and I will compete again in classic physique in the future for sure. I don't know when, but I will. There's a couple things I want to fix first. Like, I got a hair transplant. That's going to come out. I want to make sure I can dedicate some time to really focus on it. You know, because I have a business and girlfriends that are distracting. I want to be able to do it right and focus. But I do fast preps for competitions. Very fast. Like, I would document doing 10-day preps, 20-day preps, whereas most bodybuilders would take months to prep. I wanted to see what could be done if I redline all the chemistry over a short period of time and do everything perfect, how fast I could transform my physique. That's one of the experiments that I would do. And I was able to transform my physique extremely fast. Sure, at a professional level, there's no way you could do that. But at an amateur level, and to shock the world at how fast you can transform the physique, you can actually do it in a very short period of time with the right chemistry.
Okay, according to that, we have to point out that you really don't have much body fat. I've seen you yesterday, today while training.
365 days a year, I maintain low body fat.
But what, is that with intention, with purpose, or is that just your genetic, that you don't have much body fat, so this is easier for you?
Genetics, yes, but when I reached somewhere around age 30, my metabolism did slow down, and I noticed I would gain fat much easier. And as I got older, it's easier to gain fat. So I had to learn how to biohack my body to maintain low body fat beyond just my genetics, and so that's what I do. Like, I'll throw in something like growth hormone once in a while. I'll stay on SARMs. I'll do a quick blast of growth hormone, insulin, and IGF and steroids, like a quick blast of high dosages to build a bunch of muscle, and then the muscle itself burns off the body fat. And I just, with my diet, you know, you have like you got gauge in your head of when you know your glycogen stores are full. So, okay, my glycogen stores are full. Why am I going to eat more than that? Right? Just knowledge of your own, of your macros and how much calories your body can handle. So, but I don't diet really. I don't weigh my food. It's none of this. It's just I know, okay, my muscles are saturated with glycogen. Don't eat more, and I stay away from unhealthy foods as much as possible, like too many vegetable cooking oils. I try to stay away from junk foods. Except, like in the daytime, I'll eat pretty clean, or, you know, I'll make clean choices if they're available. But then at nighttime, I find I just sleep so much better, and I find it so pleasurable to eat a bunch of chocolate and chips and ice cream. But because I didn't eat it during the daytime, I left my glycogen stores, you know, at 80%. Okay, I have 20%.
Maybe after the workout to get a little bit more of this insulin effect.
Yeah, more sensitize the muscle to be able to fit. And then we have the Slin pills, which is...
I bought them.
Yeah.
I bought them.
So with the Slin pills, it kind of prevents, Slin pills plus growth hormone really prevent the storage of fat. So then I don't store fat in the first place, so I don't need to lose the fat.
So there are a few questions I wanted to ask. The first one is, according to the Slin pills, do you really think these pills are that strong that you can take it with MK677 to prevent that high blood sugar?
Yes.
Instead of insulin?
Yes.
Because I bought them for that purpose. Can you give me, or give the people here, how to use the Slin pills with MK677 to regulate the blood sugar? How much do you need?
Well, if you have a blood sugar monitor, you can see what your blood sugar is, and you can take as many Slin pills as necessary to bring your blood sugar down. But let's say on MK677, your blood sugar goes up to 110. You take 4 Slin pills, your blood sugar will come down to 95.
Okay.
And it depends on how many carbs you eat and how insulin insensitive you are. And how hard you worked out. Like there's so many factors for insulin sensitivity. But as an example, there's a lot of people who are type 2 diabetics that came to me for how do they fix their metabolic syndrome, how do they restore insulin sensitivity. And if they take 4 Slim pills before bed, they wake up instead of a blood sugar of 120 with a blood sugar of 95. Okay. So 4 pills before bed seems to solve type 2 diabetes.
Okay, so that's very interesting. So I'm going to test it. And the next question would be, I guess this was very interesting for a lot of people here getting over 30. What is your recommendation for biohack the body for being leaner in body fat? The most easy thing with chemistry everyone can do. For example, for me, maybe I try it and document it. So what can I do to get a lower body fat all the time except working out and food? That's what I do anyway. So what was the best way?
So if I was to look at someone's blood work, I could figure out, okay, was their thyroid functioning optimally? Because if their thyroid levels are low, then their metabolism's slow. Then
so let's say this is good. Let's say this is good.
So fix the thyroid, testosterone levels and estrogen levels. So you want high testosterone, normal estrogen levels, because no matter how much diet and training someone does, if their testosterone levels are low, their body's going to look terrible. They're going to gain fat instead of muscle, and they're not going to recover well from workouts. For men, testosterone levels so important. Another pathway would be like, well, you got to exercise. I mean, the thing is, like, we can take chemistry for every pathway, but if you exercise, it's like the multivitamin of chemistry. It, for example, resensitizes your muscle cells to insulin. It causes inflammation in the muscle cells, which cause the muscle cells to be more responsive to your natural IGF, HGH, insulin, and testosterone. So exercising is that's so obvious, but I think it's overlooked because a lot of people have come to me and said, okay, I want a great physique, but I don't want to exercise. And I say, okay, you can do that. You actually can take hormones and supplements on every single pathway that affects muscle and fat loss, and you can change your physique without exercise. But I'll tell you, like, if you exercise, it'll be so much easier, and the supplements will work so much better with it. So I get a lot of hate for saying don't exercise, just take drugs and supplements. But no, still exercise. The drugs and supplements will amplify it.
I never said that. I guess you was always like talking about go to exercise, and the other factors are like coming up with this. So this is what I think too, but you're right. A lot of people coming to my coaching also make, for me, the impression that they just think that the gear will handle that. So you get a coach, a biohacker, and now tell me how to biohack. But what about this training? Can I use my training? My training was good. I'm saying, no, your training wasn't good. It wasn't planned. It wasn't structured well. So that's clear. But in fact, what gear would you recommend? HGH? Growth hormone?
HGH does a lot of things in the body. It's I think of it like a parent peptide that breaks down into all these other peptides that do more things than we even realize what it does. But the obvious things it does is it prevents the storage of fat, it helps release fat, and it has a lot of recovery and anti-aging things that just help you stay leaner. And it's not a very fast thing. Like, you take like fat-burning supplements, okay, you're gonna burn fat, but you're also wearing out your health. And you take growth hormone, it's just like slowly over time, you're storing a little bit less fat, and you're burning a little bit more fat, and you'll notice the physique improves. And something like growth hormone lasts us like 4 hours. So yeah, you take it one time per day.
Sorry, what do you think of the fragment of growth hormone? There's a peptide, HGH fragment 176 to 191.
Sure.
What is your opinion on this?
Well, it has the fat loss benefits of growth hormone, but none of the other benefits of growth hormone.
Would you add it?
Yeah, it's okay to use, but most people could benefit from all the other benefits of growth hormone as well. I mean, I think the only argument for not taking growth hormone is, like, let's say if you have cancer, you actually have an existing tumor that you know about, or if you're extreme about the anti-aging to the point where you like want to sacrifice your quality of life to live as long as possible. Okay, maybe you want to keep your growth hormone levels lower, but I don't know many people who would, if they have all the information, would actually choose that. So most people should just take growth hormone. But let's say you take growth hormone once a day, and you're like, that's a perfect benefits risk to benefit ratio, and now you want to add more fat loss. Okay, now you could take HGH frag 2 other times per day. So now you're getting the fat burning benefits of growth hormone all day, but only the remote possible potential side effects of being on growth hormone for like 4 hours. So adding it on top of growth hormone makes sense. Other than that is availability. Like if you don't have availability growth hormone, you want to use HGH frag, then that makes sense. Yeah, or if anybody's afraid of any side effects of growth hormone, okay, at least use HGH frag. Sure, it'll burn fat.
But I would say the side effects of growth hormone, about 2 to 4 units a day, are like so small that you don't have to be afraid. On the blood sugar and even on growing anything you don't want to grow, I guess there's no problem.
I guess some people are paranoid about water retention. And they're like, oh, I don't want to take any growth hormone because of water retention. I'm like,
yeah, but this is just about...
dosage of growth hormone doesn't really cause much water retention, but HGH frag doesn't cause water retention, so I could understand the argument of using HGH frag for that purpose, maybe.
I've noticed that in the first weeks of a few people, that even with 4 units, they get water retention. But about maximum 6 to 8 weeks, and then it gets back because it's like the cells get a little bit more plasma for the protein later, and then it goes back again. And that's what the people make afraid. And so they're always like having this syndrome here, and a few of them get to the doctor and go to a surgery because the doctor doesn't know about the HGH.
Yeah.
So I guess this is what people are a little bit afraid about, because they don't know about the effects and they get a little bit afraid of the water retention.
Yeah, and they could just calibrate their dosage and bring it down. And if there's water retention and they want to continue with a higher dosage, because higher dosages of growth hormone can build a lot of muscle, but it doesn't really burn more fat. Low dosages of growth hormone burn plenty of fat. So water retention is an issue and want to look amazing, just low dosage of growth hormone. If you want to build a ton of muscle, high dosage of growth hormone, and we can deal with the water retention with diuretics here and there. Yeah, I mean, I know diuretics sound dangerous, but there's a lot of people out there who have heart disease and kidney problems and high blood pressure, and they take a diuretic every day for their whole life and they're fine, right? You could take a low dosage of these things and get the benefits of losing the water without the potential side effects or risks.
I guess it's always about knowing what kind of chemistry you are taking, what kind of diuretic and what it does. And I guess that's the dangerous thing about people, because they don't know what they take and they don't want to inform each other. And they don't want to know about it because it's so bad, because people tell it's bad, it's illegal and all of that. And I guess that's the reason. So
coffee, alcohol, and green tea, like these things are natural diuretics. So, you know, if someone was paranoid about medications, there's natural things they can do to get rid of the water as well.
Of course. Okay. You've talked about your hair transplantation. Very interesting topic for me, because I'm gonna do one too.
Yeah, where are you gonna bring it down?
Bring it a little bit down.
You said a little bit down, and you're like, I want to bring it down here.
I would like to have it here.
Like a
very nice. No, I was looking like Son Goku, like with the hair here, and this what I have now is for me that's very, very less hair. So I wanted to inform the people according all of this on the topic, and you made it, and we had a little conversation yesterday. It was very interesting, because people are always asking, like, what about using gear anymore after that? So we know that testosterone just causes nearly no hair loss, because you got that less DHT. It's not so sensitive for here. But what about cycling? What about Masterone? So when I was using Masterone about 2 years, because it was so nice, because I had nice libido, I had good force, it was just a good look, and I was using Masterone about 2 years.
Good feeling
steroid, I was using about 2 years with my best form, and then slowly my hair got thinner. So I stopped it, and now my hair is like that. So would you say after the transplantation, because they transplanted from here where it's not DHT sensitive, you can use Masterone again without losing it?
Yeah, but the problem is if you put the hair transplanted hair here, and you're still going to lose the hair all around here, you know, so you may end up with plenty of hair here and still a huge bald spot here. But if you get a hair transplant everywhere, okay, you're not going to lose it based on DHT. That's what the doctor said, but I, out of an abundance of caution, would still use topical things to clear out as much of the DHT as possible. And I have a theory that Masterone just has more benefits than DHT. I don't know if this is 100% true, but personally for hair loss, I would prefer to lower my natural DHT, not get rid of it completely, but lower it and add Masterone instead. I feel like Masterone potentially causes less hair loss than DHT itself. I feel like, maybe. So
how you come to this?
I don't know, actually. I have to think back through all the experiments I've done and all the times I've used Masterone versus let my DHT go high. By the way, estrogen is important for hair growth also. So like you want your estrogen going up can actually be beneficial for your hair. I mean, think about it. Women have better hair than men because they have low DHT and more estrogen, and that's the reason why. Okay, I was going to say something about a certain type of. There's men in Thailand who want to be women.
Yeah.
And they have fabulous hair.
Yeah.
They take estrogen and they take things to lower their DHT, and they have fabulous hair. Okay. So we know that men can have fabulous hair. I use the word fabulous, right, for purpose, like women can. So, but with the Masterone, I also noticed that a lot of guys that run Masterone for long periods of time don't have as much hair loss as I thought they would.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe there's a little hair loss, but it's not as much as I would have thought. But I did do a Primobolan experiment where I went to 1,600 milligrams of Primobolan, and I had more hair loss than any other time in my life. Yeah.
Because in my experience, it's not that hard for hair loss.
Well, most people only take, 600 milligrams.
Yeah, of course, 600
and I thought,
to 1,000.
And I had friends that would always say, I've been on Primobolan for 6 months. I feel like I'm getting a little hair loss. I'm thinking, okay, well, what if I take a huge dosage and see, because it's too subtle to notice, right? So I took a huge dosage and poof, it just fell out.
How much was it? How was the dosage?
1,600 milligrams.
Okay.
So but I worked my way up, and it was like, okay, I didn't notice any hair loss at 800. Okay, 1,000. Okay, up to 1,600, and then poof, all my hair started falling out.
Okay.
Which that doesn't mean it's permanent hair loss. If your hair falls out because of steroids and you stop the steroids really quickly, the hair can grow back just fine. It's like the amount of time that you're suffering the hair loss is going to become more and more permanent.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So you think it will be possible when you have enough hair transplanted to use Masterone again?
Yeah,
that's what you think.
But personally, I don't want to do so much hair transplant that I cover my whole head. So what I did is I got a hair tattoo in the whole back part, and then I just did a hair transplant in the front. Okay. I think that's a good balance of cost and hassle, because it's a hassle. Like a hair transplant it's a little bit of pain. You can't work out for a period of time. You can't go to the sauna, which is my favorite thing. You got to protect it from the sun.
Even worse in Thailand, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm in a hot climate. How am I going to not sweat in Thailand? How am I going to stay out of the sun? So it's a hassle. So I was like, okay, hair transplant at the front where it really needs it. Hair tattoo the back. Use topical things like Nizoral shampoo with ketoconazole to clean out the hair follicles, and as an anti-androgen. RU58841 as an anti-androgen for the scalp. Pyralamutide, another peptide or compound for anti-androgen for the scalp. And minoxidil for more blood flow.
Okay.
Yeah, so I do all of these things, but I should lose all my hair genetically and because of steroids and because of stress. Actually, stress caused me more hair loss than anything else.
Yes.
And
totally.
I'm not exactly sure why, but I think it's because when you're stressed, the blood moves to the core of your body away from your extremities, and like the top of your head is a place where you can easily lose, like the blood's going to come out of the top of your head, the skin and this layer first.
Yeah.
And so we can counteract that by using minoxidil to bring more blood flow and massaging the scalp and microneedling.
Right. I was noticing losing most of my hair during bodybuilding competitions when I was like preparing people.
Stress.
Going from country to country. Like having a nice time, having a lot of fun, but it was also in in the competition day, it was pure stress. I was just running, I was just looking, I was just fixing everything, and then I came home and like, okay, where's that hair from?
Yeah.
And so I noticed that, and there was a point when I thought, okay, now I'm gonna do it. So really gonna do it, and I'm a little bit, I hope a little bit that I can take a little bit more Masterone again, because I like Masterone too for its effect. I've seen a video of you discussing that too much DHT maybe is bad for quality aging, that estrogen is better for our skin.
Yeah.
So how does that go well? When we want to get a little bit harder, a little bit of quality aging, is that maybe an argument against Masterone?
Yeah, this is a little bit of Masterone is all you need to feel good and your libido, right? But if you want that hard, dry look, it's tough.
The face is also hard and dry.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard. Like you want to have a soft face, but you want to have a hard body. This is hard to do. I mean,
tell me the recipe. Yes.
Well, the best thing is lower body fat. right?
Of course,
because then you've got less of a layer between your skin and your muscle, and you can see more. And keeping water retention down. These two things are not going to, compromise your skin quality too much. And don't kill estrogen. You know, a lot of bodybuilders want to get rid of their estrogen completely, and then they're going to age much faster as a result.
But they'll do it at the end of the competition. No?
Yeah, it's okay. For a short period of time, it's not going to wreck their skin. Like any of these things, if you suffer hair loss for 1 week, okay, your hair is going to grow back. If you dry out and your skin looks terrible and dry and like it's old for 1 week, that's okay. It's not going to become permanent. But you stay on, hardening steroids and keep your estrogen low for a long period of time, that look starts becoming permanent. But there's things we can put on our skin. There's hyaluronic acid, staying well hydrated, things that increase blood flow, things that increase collagen synthesis. So taking collagen or using retinol cream helps actually use the collagen to maintain the
doing all this stuff by yourself?
Well, now I am, but I didn't before. So like now I'm trying to do anti-aging. Before I never cared. When I was younger, I wanted to look older. I was trying to look older. I was a lawyer. And the older I look, the more I get paid.
Yeah, of course.
So I didn't want to look young. And then as I get older, now I'm 41, my girlfriends are 20 to 26, and they're cool with it, right? They're cool with it now. Like the age difference looks good, right? In Asia, it's normal. It looks good. But 10 years from now, I'm 51 years old. And if my girlfriends are 20 to 30 years old, then it's going to start looking awkward. And I don't want them to feel awkward. I'm fine with it, but I don't want them to feel awkward. I want them to feel like their man is handsome and young and vibrant. So I'm doing it for that purpose now. Okay. I don't even care for myself, honestly. I don't care what other men think, whatever. I'm honestly doing it for my girlfriend in the future and my future girlfriends, I guess I need to do it also for the public so you can see what can be done. But a few years ago, I looked much older than I do now. I mean, because I was stressed out, not sleeping. Lack of sleep is going to age you more than anything else. And, sleeping not enough every night for decades, being a lawyer that's stressing myself out, working so much. Forget steroids. Like the stress from being a lawyer and working as much as I did caused me way more aging than steroids ever did. So another thing you do is, okay, you could take the Masterone, you could take the steroids to harden up, but then take care of your health in every other way. Eat healthier. Use skincare products, put sunscreen on. I used to be against sunscreen because I was like, oh, the chemicals in sunscreen are not healthy. But if I would just go back in time, I just would have put sunscreen on my face all the time. And I would have let my skin, my body get tan, and that's fine. Then the amount of surface area I'm actually putting the chemicals on is very low. So the amount that's going to go into my bloodstream is very low compared to someone who's putting sunblock everywhere, so the benefits outweigh the risks of just the sunblock on the face. And I would have started using retinol cream earlier. I would have exfoliated earlier. I would have kept my, used more moisturizer earlier, all these type of things. And now there's skin lasers, and there's one called a HIFU laser. And in Thailand, the Thai people are obsessed with skincare, and they have beautiful skin. You'll see 50-year-old women that have skin on their face that look like they're 20 years old.
Is that the reason, because they look like that? I thought it's like natural with Asian people that they look younger.
Yes, Asian people look natural, but they're also obsessed with it, and they do a lot of things to make themselves look even younger. They use the lasers, they use the retinol cream, they are obsessed with staying out of the sun and putting sunblock on, and they use skin whitening cream. Now that doesn't necessarily mean your skin look younger, but their skin looks like porcelain, like perfect white, smooth, and that's because they're using glutathione, and they're putting all the face creams in Thailand. I don't want face cream that's going to make my skin lighter, but every face cream in Thailand has whitening product. Every soap in Thailand has whitening products in it. So they're all putting whitening stuff on themselves. They all want whiter skin.
Interesting. I have a few things I want to talk about to you, because this is like things that are discussed. From my experience in coaching also, the first thing is we were talking about Masterone and we were talking about estrogen. So what is your practical experience about Masterone being an estrogen inhibitor? Because in my opinion, this is like, there's a pharmacological way, maybe studies, but in my opinion, it had never figured out as working, because people came to me like, I've seen this video, there was said that this would inhibit my estrogen and now I got gyno. Nothing worked. So what is your opinion on this?
So you think that Masterone wasn't effective at preventing gyno?
Not in practice, not practically, and maybe not at the level of 400 to 700 milligrams a week, where the most people would use it for lifestyle, for bodybuilding themselves a little bit. What is your experience? I think it does not work like that, like you read it.
So I didn't get gyno until later in my steroid experimentation, and I got it from, I was experimenting with how high I could go in a dosage of testosterone until I got gyno. I got to 1,000 milligrams, and then that's when I got gyno. 1,000 milligrams, no AI, then I got gyno. But I could have run 600 milligrams my whole life and never gotten gyno with no AI. Letting my estrogen go up, it was fine. Then later I did a ment trustolone cycle, and I got gyno really bad from that. And then ever since then, I can get gyno like instantly. Okay. Because the glands are there now, right? So since then, I've done a lot of experiments with gyno, because I'll let myself start getting gyno, and then I'll try to treat it. I'll let myself start getting gyno, and I'll try to treat it. So I have a lot of different experiments. I have found Masterone to be fairly effective with gyno, for me personally. Not alone, like if I run a gram of testosterone, there's probably no amount of Masterone that I could run that would prevent gyno. I'd have to use an AI or something along with it. But it seems to work through a different pathway. For example, it could act to some extent like an aromatase inhibitor. It could potentially cause estrogen to go lower, but it's also counteracting the estrogen by changing the balance between estrogen and testosterone or DHT or androgenic hormones. I found that if you have high androgens, but you also have high estrogen, you might not get gyno. If you have low testosterone, low androgens, and low estrogen, you might not get gyno. But if you have low androgens and high estrogen, that ratio seems to give gyno. And Masterone seems to be effective at closing that gap, to adding more estrogen to androgen to estrogen ratio. So I don't think about Masterone so much as an AI, even though some people do, but I do think of it as tilting that balance so that, let's say I want higher estrogen because I want more muscle hyperplasia, I want to build new muscle cells, I want the muscles to be fuller, so I want elevated estrogen levels. Okay, now we can use a Masterone to prevent those elevated estrogen levels from, because sometimes we'll do a cycle where we don't need androgens. We're just going for hypertrophy and hyperplasia. We just want to build more muscle. We don't need androgenic steroids as much for that. Androgenic steroids are for hardening, right? But if we're just trying to be anabolic and we're trying to build muscle, but then with that comes the risk of gyno because we are letting estrogen go higher, I've found adding Masterone in for that purpose to be effective for preventing gyno. But it's not necessarily going to do anything for gyno caused by DECA and Tren, which is a whole different animal, which I'm still trying to figure out like how to prevent gyno on DECA and Tren, because we talked about earlier, lowering estrogen and lowering prolactin are two ways to do it, but there seems even beyond that to be some direct stimulation of the glands from just the DECA and Tren itself as well. And I don't know if Masterone's going to also be able to prevent that. Those may be situations where it's just the DECA and Tren's going to cause it anyways.
That's it. I guess it was about Masterone, about interacting at the estrogen receptor in I don't know what way, what pathway. But I guess it was studied on women and very, very low. And so I guess for people like with superior testosterone levels and superior estrogen with that, I guess you're right that it would close the ratio, but it won't be an inhibitor. And also no selective estrogen blocker also. So it will not help at all with the gyno. The next thing is also a very nice topic we had. When it comes to prolactin, there were several studies that showed that interacting prolactin with, or nandrolone with testosterone, going down, after taking it, will higher your prolactin levels. There was no causality, but it was always a higher prolactin level with using that two together. So that was a problem where you said you can't find your gyno there.
Yeah, and this is why some people do DECA-only cycles, right? Because then they say, okay, if you take DECA without testosterone, then you're not going to get gyno, you're not going to get prolactin side effects.
Then you get the DECA dick.
Don't need to take ancillaries. Yeah, I mean, the argument is you won't even get DECA dick too, but for me, that's not worth the risk. I mean, for sure with DECA, because it's such a long ester, if you get the side effect, you're stuck with it for a while. At least the shorter acting nandrolone phenylpropionate version of DECA, the shorter acting one. So if there's a side effect, you can come off it quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think there's enough data to show that there's a lot of people who have done DECA only cycles and didn't have the side effects, but there's also a lot of people who did DECA only cycles and did have the side effects. And I don't know why. It's one of those things maybe worth trying, but then do the short acting ester so that if the side effects do come, you can get off it. I did the DECA only experiment one time, but then I lab tested the DECA and found out it was testosterone.
Okay. Nice.
You know, after I was 3 weeks in. Thank God I tested. Otherwise, my data from my experiment would have been completely wrong. Yeah.
So I guess it would be like a little bit bro science, but I guess this is like for just to have like a guideline to say you have one-time testosterone, which always causes estrogen. And when it comes to the DECA, it always causes also prolactin. And when you combine them two, you have a sure gyno.
Yep.
Sure gyno without inhibiting prolactin with carbagyl or without inhibiting estrogen. And that's it. When you use just one of them, it's like lottery.
There was an influencer who recently said that gyno is always caused by prolactin, not as much by estrogen as we think. And I don't agree with that. But if there's some truth to that, then maybe bodybuilders need to put more emphasis on lowering prolactin in general. Like maybe that needs to be just as much as a target as estrogen, because most people don't know anything about prolactin. Most people only think about estrogen. They get estrogenic side effects. They think, oh, estrogen. They never considered it could have been prolactin. But the thing is, it's so easy to test this. You can take cabergoline or pramipexole, preferably cabergoline to try because it's just so effective and easy to use. You can take 0.5 milligrams the last 5 days. So just take 0.5 milligrams and see if that solves the problem. And then it's healthier to switch to pramipexole for the long term. But then you tested the pathway, prolactin is the problem. So all of our bodies are a little bit different with our chemistry. They're similar, but there's enough differences to where you have to experiment with things like this. You have to see what happens to your body if you drop prolactin. And you know, the first time I ever took cabergoline was nothing to do with steroids. It was like I wanted to experience the sexual benefits from cabergoline. Okay. So like I didn't have gyno. I'm just like, I've read and researched a lot that if you take cabergoline, you lower prolactin.
But you were on steroids.
Yeah, I was probably on steroids, but I don't think prolactin was an issue for me. It wasn't a problem at the time. I had normal sexual function. But then I took the cabergoline, and the first time I took cabergoline, oh my God, I still remember. The girlfriend has the earphones on. I could almost tell a story, but it was crazy. I was in Costa Rica, and I walked down the street, and I saw this hottie alert, you know, this Latin American hottie alert type, and I met her, and we got back to the hotel, and like we had the craziest sex in the hotel. Just like this girl was like clawing and biting, pulling my hair. I don't know if we were fighting or having sex, but it was something, a combination of both. Okay. And then we had sex twice, and then I came twice. I'm like, oh my God! And then we went to this beautiful nature resort, and there was nobody anywhere to be found. So we went to the pool and the spa, which is just surrounded by forest. It was so beautiful, and we banged in the spa for like 3 hours. Holy crap. I came so many times. She came so many times. Like, how is this possible? And later I find out like the whole staff was watching us in the bushes and on the security cameras, and the next day the whole staff was talking about it because it was legendary. They probably didn't know sex like that even existed. I mean, the cabergoline took it to some next level.
It was just the cabergoline for the first time.
Just the first time I took cabergoline.
Crazy.
And I never talked to the girl again since, but I'll never forget. That was...
But isn't it that you need a little bit of prolactin for not coming so fast? That is would have also that you did a little level of prolactin.
Who cares if you come fast if you can come 4 or 5 times?
Okay, that's right. Also.
I mean, but I've never had that level of experience since then.
Okay.
Right? So now if I take cabergoline, okay, yeah, I can do a couple times. Normally it's like the first time in the day I have sex, it's easy to finish. The second time it's harder. The third time it's really hard. It takes a lot of work. And so cabergoline makes it easier to finish each time. Okay. But I'm not trying to impress anybody, whatever. The faster I can finish, the better. Honestly, it's for my benefit. And if the girl's gonna, I mean, yeah, who cares? I mean, I say everybody's responsible for their own orgasm. I'll be responsible for mine. You be responsible for yours. If I come before you, hey, I win. Speed it up next time.
And that's how you were discovering a lot of stuff like this. One video I've seen was very interesting with a PT-141. Is that something you're using in general or frequently? Because for me it looks like a little bit inconvenient to like inject it in your nose. You're not really injecting it, but you're like pushing it there.
I did an experiment where I took PT-141 every day, and it lost its effect. So every day, if I could take it every day, well, no, I wouldn't take it every day because you get so distracted. Your libido goes so high, you can't think or focus on anything else. And you end up having sex with people you would never consider having sex with, objects you would never consider having sex with, and you can't think about anything else, right? So that's fun to do every once in a while. But I was thinking like a low dosage every day. But the problem is I noticed the effectiveness would kind of wear off. So maybe 2 days per week, 1 day per week. But what's also nice about it is like you have this extreme libido and sexual desire. And the next day you're like, okay, I'm good. I'm satisfied. Like I don't need to do that today. Today I can focus on work and working out and self-improvement, my family, But it's nice to have that sexual intensity and libido in a window of time when you can make use of it. Yeah.
So it sounds like it is not that selective when you take it. So you would not recommend it for someone. I have a TRT coaching now, and a lot of people have erectile dysfunction. Sometimes it goes away. You need a little bit of chemistry, a little bit of supplements. It needs time often. But for somebody who considers this, would you say, for me it sounds that this is no good way because you're not just with more libido, you're like freaking out. So this is no good way to work on an erectile dysfunction, or would you say it is?
Well, I think some people have psychological problems that are blocking their libido. And,
of course.
That's created by trauma, past trauma. It's created by boredom with your mate, or maybe you chose the wrong, maybe you chose the mate because it's a practical choice, but not because the sexual attraction is there and you're trying to get or keep the sexual attraction. Or it could be because, society and culture suppresses your masculinity. And so where PT-141 could be helpful is to jumpstart your libido. Like maybe you forgot what it feels like to have a strong libido.
Not confidence anymore, something like that. People telling me like they're afraid of getting in bed with their women. Yeah, of course.
So like use the PT-141 to break through all those psychological barriers and feel what it feels like to be so horny you can't even control it. Like your psychology can't get in the way of the effectiveness of PT-141. And that might remove the roadblock. Then you might not need to stay on PT-141 because you showed yourself you actually can have a normal libido. You can be excited about your wife again. Yeah, so I would think of PT-141 as not like a daily thing to take. Cialis, Viagra, these type of things are more daily things. I think of PT-141 as like a jump start. And you could jump start twice a week if you want, or sometimes you just need one jump start. Sometimes you go in years without feeling crazy libido, and then once you feel it, you're like, oh, that's what it feels like, and you break through that barrier, and you can naturally feel the libido again afterwards, maybe.
Yeah, because for me it sounded like it was non-selective, because you had a challenge with Connor, I guess. Yeah. And you were like trying to, who gets attracted from lady boys in Thailand, I guess. You were with PT-141, and you went there to the street, and then there were a lot of lady boys touching Connor, and you were like challenging when he gets the first one, the first bump, yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, like with Viagra and Cialis, you actually need some stimulation.
Yeah, you need a trigger.
Yeah, but with PT-141, you don't necessarily need a trigger. You could get a random boner and randomly be thinking about sex and turned on. Okay. So you could put yourself in any setting. Actually, Connor did this experiment where he tried to turn himself gay. He's like, okay, and this is interesting because he's not a biohacker, but he touched on some really powerful biohacking principles that we can learn from. Yeah. Which is that if you increase your dopamine and the stimulation you want to become more attracted to while your dopamine is high, you'll actually build more attraction towards it. So imagine like you could use things that increase your dopamine and cabergoline and PT-141, Viagra, Cialis, Levitra, and put yourself in a situation that you normally wouldn't be sexually stimulated by, but the PT-141 is going to make you sexually stimulated whether you like it or not. And now you're going to start building a positive association between the environment you're in at the time and your sexuality. So if Connor wants to be gay, he can take all these supplements, put himself in a gay setting, and he's going to be turned on. He's going to be excited. Whether he likes, he can't stop it, right? The PT-140. Yeah. But with the Viagra and Cialis, you put yourself in a gay setting, and you're not going to like, it's not going to make you gay. No. It's not going to make you excited about them, and you're not even going to get hard. People say, oh, how could you take Cialis before into the gym or Viagra before going to the gym? Because you can take it for muscle pumps.
Yeah, of course.
I never got a boner in the gym ever on Viagra or Cialis because there was no trigger. No girls touching me, no girls being sexy to me, nothing to like trigger it. But you take PT-141, you go to the gym, you're going to potentially get some random boners, and you're going to think to yourself, why am I hard right now? Yeah. What is the stimulation? And they're like, oh, it didn't even require stimulation. It's just, boom, the libido just ignited.
Okay, so that would be a problem on TRT, I guess.
PT-141, careful where you choose to use it. Okay. And like I had my girlfriend take it a decade ago.
It was developed for women, huh?
It's great for women because Viagra, Cialis, PDE5 inhibitors, the one that increase the blood flow, it increases the blood flow to the clitoris, but their clitoris is so small, and that's not really as much of a part of their sexual motivation as it is like for men. They're more psychological. But the PT-141 causes the woman to become horny mentally as well. She starts thinking about sex, and she gets wet. So PT-141 works very well for females because it's working through a psychological mechanism as well.
Where does that pathway come from? I just was reading about it was developed for women for getting more nitric oxide for this purpose, for this region here, for getting more sexual attracted to other people. So where is that pathway going up from the brain or from the...
There's a network in the body called the melanocortin receptors, and I don't fully understand what they do. I don't think scientists even fully understand this pathway. It's kind of like the cannabinoid receptors. It's like, why do we have so many cannabinoid receptors, and why does herb have so many health benefits on us, and yet it's not like a normal part of our diet? Like, why do we have these receptors? What are their function? Scientists don't even know. We're still discovering like what are the significance of it. But melanotan is a much more broad-acting melanocortin stimulator than PT-141. PT-141 has the sexual stimulation, but it doesn't make your skin darker. Okay. And doesn't do other things melanotan. But if you take melanotan as an example that works along the melanocortin receptors, then it has actually a lot of effects on the body that are beneficial besides just darkening your skin, besides just the sexual performance increase. And one of them is like insulin sensitivity. Like, how is it possible that melanotan increases insulin sensitivity? But it does very effectively. How? Why? Why are these receptors in our body? What are the natural stimulus before we discovered melanotan and melanotan 2? There's melanotan 1 and melanotan 2. Every time I say melanotan, I'm saying melanotan 2. Why did these peptides that we're synthetically injecting and learning about now have an entire network in our body ready to receive it for health benefits? What in nature existed that activated these receptors before we discovered these peptides we can inject? The scientists don't even know this yet. I think with the help of artificial intelligence and further science, we're going to figure out. There's going to be a lot of learning about biohacking and biochemistry, but like some of these questions you ask actually don't have answers. Yeah. I mean, you could research it and you can find circumstantial evidence and things that build it, but the truth is you ask the top scientists in the world some of these questions, and they'll, in the end, you ask them enough questions, they'll be like, I don't know. We don't know yet. Yeah. But on the other, so then the risk is, do these things have side effects? But we now have enough data. I mean, melanotan was the first thing I injected. So yeah, steroids started at age 30, but I took my first melanotan injection at age 22 or something like that. So that was almost 20 years ago. I took a first melanotan injection.
So you have a lot of experience with this?
I don't know how many years. It was a long time ago.
Can you explain why a lot of people look so bad at this? Using too much, of course. Using the wrong cycle, maybe. But what kind of cycle would be perfect? I figured out that people like superloading with 500 microgram or more a day, and then after 2 or 3 weeks, they look really bad. They look like, I don't know how to compare, but they don't look good.
Oh, you mean their skin looks bad?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were saying, why do people look down on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Too much, please. And then I figured out that...
Well, their skin looks dark and purple if they take too much.
Yeah, it's too much. It's too much. It's not natural. So did you find out there's a way to make it natural? I tried a few cycles with people, not myself, with people. It was about 500 microgram every second day for 2 weeks, and then just 1 or 2 times a week. It worked well, but it depends on going to the sun. What is your thing?
Well, the most extreme experiment I ever saw was my friend.
Yeah.
The one that inspired me to take steroids earlier.
Okay.
He competed in a physique competition, and he wanted to look dark.
Yeah.
So besides just steroids, he also used melanotan. And he blasted mega doses of melanotan for a few days, and then he spent a few days in the sun. And he came back after 4 days. This guy went from white to black. He put his skin next to someone who's black, and it was black, but with a purple tint. You know, it looked a little bit weird, but definitely.
Did he have this black points also?
Yeah, freckles. Lots of freckles. Freckles here, freckles. Yeah.
Do you know how to avoid them?
Just use less melanotan, but get more sunlight. So it's the combination of the two that really make you dark, right? So you could just use a little bit less melanotan, get a little bit more sun. Or because a lot of people don't want sun, so they use a lot of melanotan, but then you're gonna get more freckles. I don't care about the freckles personally. I mean, a lot of people don't like the freckles, but I think freckles look okay to me.
I guess it depends how much and how thick they are.
Yeah.
Seeing people like
the freckles do seem to fade away over time as well, you know, just like
a lot of time.
It takes time. Yeah. Well, the melanotan tan effect lasts a long time. I mean, people like that friend that turned black. I mean, he was dark for 6 months. You know, yes, he's getting lighter every day, but he probably didn't get back to like white
after one blast
out of the sun for 6 months. Yeah,
crazy shit. Okay, that's very interesting. I have another one. Another good topic. And what about PCT? What about quitting on steroids? There are a lot of people saying like, I've experienced steroids. I took them and I just stopped taking them. I never needed PCT. So no one needs PCT. What about making a post-cycle therapy? Did you always make a post-cycle therapy? Is that what you recommend? Or would you say, in your experience, you don't need it, you can go out?
The problem is you could experiment with not doing a PCT, but then you find out how terrible it feels. You're like, oh, I should have done PCT. I should never let myself like lose this much muscle, get this depressed, have this low of energy. So yeah, a lot of people could do a cycle and come off and not do a PCT, and their natural testosterone will bounce back very quickly. But are you willing to take the risk that you are probably someone who needed PCT? Now there's SARMs that suppress testosterone a little bit, but the testosterone bounces back very quickly afterwards. And then there's tren and deca cycles, which totally shut you down. And if you don't do PCT after that, then you're probably going to have terrible low testosterone symptoms. So it depends on the amount of dosage that we're taking, the amount of powerful like suppression of the compound. And the more powerful and the more suppressing and the higher the dosage, the wiser it would be to take a PCT. But I don't see any reason not to do a PCT. Because
just being lazy.
Being lazy and or saving money or something maybe. But during PCT, you can actually, it depends on what your cycle was, but you can actually make progress. If you do a really good PCT, for example, Connor is the face of the Natty Plus cycle. Yeah. And the Natty Plus cycle has none of the side effects of steroids, but it has the benefits of a low steroid cycle. You can go from doing a steroid cycle into doing Natty Plus and fully restore your cholesterol, your lipid profile, your liver, your kidney health, your skin, restore your natural testosterone and your other natural hormone production. Like there's no reason not to do Natty Plus instead of PCT. and also be able to make progress, because your natural testosterone levels will shoot up so high so fast, and you're taking a SARM and a pro-hormone that have all the benefits of testosterone with none of the side effects. So I think PCT to me is outdated. Like PCT for 1980 is great, but this is 2024. Like now we have PCT that you can actually instantly get your natural testosterone back and actually make progress, like elevate the amount of androgen receptor activation in post-cycle therapy, and restore your lipids, and you don't have to compromise. Like, so now, on the other hand, why not just blast and cruise? Why not just remain on a low dosage of testosterone, do another cycle, never have to worry about PCT? But if I was going to PCT, I wouldn't do a traditional PCT. I'd do the Natty Plus.
Okay, I've seen that several times, but I don't remember it anymore. What is the difference between PCT and Natty Plus? Don't you try to shock your receptors or your glands to produce testosterone again with tamoxifen or HCG?
So a couple reasons to use tamoxifen and HCG. So number one, HCG is stimulating the Leydig cells with an alternate to luteinizing hormone. So that's stimulating the testicles to produce testosterone. Well, there are other things that can do that as well. And also HCG is great for jump starting. And you could technically take it all the time. And you could actually say HCG kind of qualifies for Natty Plus, because if you take a low dosage of it and over a period of time, you still don't really have any side effects of it. I guess side effect could be like elevated estrogen, can go a little bit too high. But then we can stack it with, so enhanced has, but you could also just have the individual ingredients, blue ox and black ox testosterone boosters. So they're natural testosterone boosters that actually work, and they also mitigate estrogen. If you have too much estrogen, it'll actually bring your estrogen down. It's weird. If you have low estrogen, it'll bring it up. If you have high estrogen, it'll bring it down. And it just seems to put your estrogen right in range with this combination of herbs and stuff. So with the black ox and blue ox, a jump start of HCG, that's no problem there, might as well. But then the question is, do you take like tamoxifen? Do you take Clomid? Well, now we have enclomiphene, which is
I guess it's
healthier.
Too much toxic, clomiphene. Tamoxifen is a little bit less toxic, and you can combine it a little with HCG. But I guess that's the conventional modern PCT, that you start with HCG, then with tamoxifen, and then you have about 6 weeks, and then you wait until your testosterone gets back. And there comes your Natty Plus, where you say you boost it.
You can go right into Natty Plus right after the cycle, though.
Okay.
I mean, so what happens is, after a steroid cycle, your testosterone is low, and you're very sensitive to estrogen, and you got to lower estrogen for multiple reasons, but especially because estrogen suppresses testosterone. So does DHT, actually. So you want to lower anything that could suppress testosterone. But then we have like a prohormone 3AD, and I don't know if any of this is available in Germany, but we have this prohormone 3AD, which actually boosts testosterone, natural testosterone production. It's not suppressive. It's the opposite of suppressive. So we can use that in PCT also. So we come at natural testosterone production from so many different angles, besides just lowering or blocking estrogen and the HPTA feedback loop. And besides just stimulating the Leydig cells, if you broke it down by pathway, we'd be increasing testosterone and mitigating the effects of estrogen across like 6 different pathways, for example. And so you can basically feel normal instantly after a steroid cycle. And then the question is, like, if you come off Natty Plus, will then you have normal testosterone levels? I mean, this takes time. Right? It's kind of like training wheels. How long do you have to put the training wheels on? How long do you have to sort of artificially stimulate your body to be producing testosterone until your body will naturally produce testosterone on its own? And that again comes back to like how powerful the cycle you did, how suppressive the cycle was, how long the cycle was, and what dosages that you took. But I see no reason not to just stay on Natty Plus. So yeah, there acts as training wheels, and you hope to get your natural testosterone back. But at the same time, the whole reason why you come off steroids in the first place is to restore your health, reach homeostasis, restore your lipid profile, these things. But if you can take Natty Plus, and by the way, Natty Plus isn't necessarily a set stack. There's what Connor uses, but it's the principles of Natty Plus, which is that these supplements have no side effects, so there's no reason not to use them. They don't suppress your natural testosterone production. And so it's like, why not stay on, let's just say, this natural testosterone boosting stack and building muscle and making you feel better through other pathways? Why not just stay on it all the way between every cycle that you do, and you'll never experience the side effects of too high of estrogen or shutdown or decrease in energy, decrease in libido, and you can restore your fertility. So I think this is like the new approach to PCT.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if this Natty Plus is not available, you say this, it's nothing more than to say that after maybe going out of the cycle, you try to work with testosterone boosters that are natural. So I guess that's the whole thing.
Yeah, and also like you said, tamoxifen versus Clomid, for example. Well, you can take N-clomiphene instead of Clomid.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot less side effects, and it's got a short half-life. So you can come off it at any time you want. If you if you feel like too emotional, because it still does have like the emotional side effect.
Yeah.
Feels like you have high estrogen. So you can just come off it at any time. But yeah, I see no, I mean, I like to say a day natural is a day wasted. Why not always take something? I mean, you're going to take a multivitamin. Why not also take a testosterone booster? Why not also take a little something that has no side effects that helps you build muscle and burn fat? Yeah, it's more vitamins, but now we have Brian Johnson, who's spending millions of dollars every year on anti-aging, and he's taking 85 pills per day. And I think he's going to break the taboo. People are like, oh, you shouldn't take so many supplements, you shouldn't take so many pills. I think in the future, if people are smart, they're going to say we should be taking more pills, more supplements, because everything that we take is going to improve our life in some way. So the same thing is between steroid cycles, just be okay taking more supplements for a longer period of time. Like by default, take supplements instead of by default be natural. And yeah, so clomiphene, N-clomiphene instead of Clomid. Tamoxifen is fine for short periods of time. You can still use tamoxifen. That's fine. But even after you come off tamoxifen, might as well do Natty Plus and get your testosterone level from, you know, let's say you recover it to 600. Why not just take a few more supplements and get it to 800?
Yeah.
I don't think there's any side effects of increasing testosterone from 600 to 800, but your physique will be slightly better. You'll have a little bit better energy. You'll have a little bit more motivation, and all of life will just be better, and you'll feel better and perform better.
Sounds excellent. So I will give that advice from now too. So coming to the end, like your motto is, a day Natty is a day wasted. When will be the day you go out with steroids? When will you quit steroids, or won't you quit ever?
I was planning to take 1 month off of steroids every year.
Every year?
Yeah, 1 month per year. That was my plan. Well, steroids can suppress things besides just natural testosterone production. There's other hormones, you know, that like DHEA is a precursor to other hormones in the body, and allopregnanolone in the brain, and serotonin levels, like your neurotransmitter.
You can supplement pregnenolone.
You can supplement like all these different pathways, but then I worry, like, what if there's some pathway I'm still missing? Like the serotonin pathway is the most recent that I learned that's being affected by being on long-term TRT.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, and then once I learned that was actually significant, and I may have a serotonin deficiency as a result, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I should come off once in a while. However, now I decide, and I wouldn't just come off and be like, okay, December is the month I come off. No, it's more like, okay, I had a hair transplant. So what? I came off of steroids for a few weeks, just a few weeks, and at the same time, I'm still doing something along the lines of a Natty Plus.
Okay.
Yeah, and but it's not mandatory. I don't have to come off. My cholesterol's fine. If most people come off steroids because of their cholesterol, and they freak out when they see their cholesterol.
Okay.
But I just had my calcium score test done to test if I have plaque in my arteries. I mean, that's that's the net effect. If your cholesterol is high, but you have no plaque in your arteries or no LDL oxidation in your brain, okay, there's some other potential negative effects of having bad cholesterol. But listen, mostly it's about clogging your arteries. Yeah. If you're not getting clogged arteries, then who cares if your lipid profile's off? There's so many different factors that contribute to your arteries getting blocked than just your LDL. But you can also treat your lipids with medications, and we could debate whether statins are good or bad.
A little bit with supplements also.
Yeah, we can supplement to do that. So we can stay on steroid cycles, and we can take health supplements to mitigate all the side effects so that we never have to come off steroids. That's fine. Hey, we got a lot of people who they lost their testicles in some accident, or they can't produce testosterone. This is more common than you think. You just don't don't hear about it. People don't.
I have a few of them in TRT.
Yeah, they don't go, oh, I have one testicle. People don't shout that, put on their Instagram profile. Here's my name. I have one testicle. You don't know these people out there, but they're out there.
I didn't know how much, but during to TRT, I have 2 people known in the recent time. But during to cancer, there was. But even them, they're using TRT very successfully.
They can be on TRT for 20 years and not have side effects of being on TRT, potentially. So I'm not so afraid of staying on testosterone the rest of my life. That's okay. I'll treat it. I'll make sure I take the pregnenolone, PEA, something to boost serotonin, whatever else testosterone could suppress, DHEA. And blue ox and black ox testosterone boosters are now about to include all of these in it. They have some of these now it's about to include. So that's going to be like when you're on TRT, you could take these and you don't ever have to come off. Yeah.
I guess testosterone isn't really the problem. If you have the physiological dose, you can go forever with it. So that's not a problem. I'm talking more about cycling, gearing, all of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, steroids is a broad category, so which compound of its tren is something I would be very scared to be on full time, all the time, because it does mess with your brain and your neurotransmitter balance, and that's something I'd be most concerned about. So if it's something like tren, I would take frequent breaks from it to reset, because I have the theory that, okay, if you take tren for a short period of time, your brain neurotransmitter balance is going to be off temporarily, no big deal, come off and it goes back to normal. But if you're on a really long period of time, there's potential damage that can happen to this. For example, let's say your estrogen is too low in your brain, you're going to be a lot more susceptible to neurotoxicity and brain degradation and Alzheimer's. And your neurotransmitter balance, like your serotonin level, if that's low over a long period of time, you're not going to have neurogenesis. You're not going to be able to build new brain cells. You're going to have a harder time learning. It's going to impact your memory. You're going to feel anxiety. So for coming off the steroids, not so much like for cholesterol or the liver, we can see whether they're getting damaged or not. Ultrasound of the organs you can do as well. But for brain neurotransmitter balance, I don't want to be on one steroid for too long. So I would alternate between different steroids if I'm going to stay on steroids. And I'd even do that with SARMs, because we don't know even though most of the SARMs we've done high dosage, long-term experiments and found the side effects are very low, I still am not 100% sure there's no side effect. The body's too complicated. So I found a good balance between that to just rotate between different SARMs. Like SARM AC262 is one of my favorites. SARM RAD140 is one of my favorites. And AC262 works amazing and it keeps working, but I still alternate between the two. So if I've taken AC262 for a couple weeks, I'll switch to RAD140, because this may have side effects that are aggregating over time that could become more permanent. But if I switch to it, now whatever side effects that has are gone, and now maybe other new side effects are slowly aggregating in the background, but they're not going to become permanent as well. The body is able to bounce back really quickly unless it's under chronic stress for a long period of time, and then damage can become permanent. So you said, like, would I come off steroids or cycle or whatever? I just alternate compounds. I can stay on, but I just alternate between the compounds as time goes on.
I guess also there's a big potential with combining SARMs with to enhance a little bit more steroids. That's what I do with competing athletes, so that they're on steroid cycle, and now and then I get a little bit in with a few SARMs, like LGD or like Ostarine. They're like exploding, making more muscle mass. But just if you combine it, and then I take it away, because it's also a little bit of liver toxicity, but just a little bit. And even if it's just a little, you don't need much. So I guess I saw that you were talking about like using different pathways for enhancing everything is more sure or less dangerous than higher one steroid. And that's what I do, combining in, I saw that you doing that. And so I'm combining different pathways of peptides, of SARMs, of steroids. And I do it by myself also, just always combining a little bit, getting the benefit and then getting out of it. So you would say that's what we can do the whole life.
Yeah, and when you tell a client you're going to take 10 supplements instead of one, they're like, oh my God, that's a lot of drugs. No, because you're taking very small dosages.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, think about it like vitamins. It's not exactly the same, but think about it like vitamin. A multivitamin has a small amount of many different things that your body needs, right? It's improving your health over many different pathways. Now imagine how dumb it would be to just megadose vitamin A. Ignore the other pathways and other vitamins and stuff and just take a huge dose. I never thought of this analogy until now because the way you said it was really good. So I'm just building on that. So like instead of megadosing vitamin A, let's address every pathway, because for your health or muscle building, like we're comparing health and muscle building, both have pathways. Muscle building pathways, the androgen receptor, estrogen receptor, insulin, growth hormone, IGF, inflammation. So all these pathways, take a little bit of something on each pathway so that no pathway is a limiting factor, and then everything works synergistically instead of blasting one pathway. So it does seem a little bit overwhelming to people to take so many different supplements, but it's actually much, much healthier. We can do it without side effects.
Nice. So that was really important for me, because that's how I try to work out and try to find new things to get on every pathway properly. And that's what research is about then. And so I'm thankful for a lot of videos of you, because I'm always learning from them. And so I'm very thankful also to having you here today.
Oh, so I'll send you, this will be really helpful. But I'll send you this, I finally broke it down, and I'll call it Dr. Huge's Laws of Biochemistry Physics. And yeah, here, I'm gonna copy and paste it to you right now. Because this is gonna be, if you use this as like a checklist for chemistry, like you can't go wrong. So let's see. So you watch. Look at it on your phone right now, and then read a couple of these and see. This is game changer. So like I'll start like law number 1: a day natural is a day wasted.
Yeah, of course.
We explained what that means. Right? But law number 2 is law of homeostasis, and underneath that is the pendulum theory and tricking the body. I'll give you one example of that. Bodybuilding competition, you're depleting yourself and you're cut down, and then you notice you can rebound and build a lot of muscle afterwards. Because it's like a pendulum. You know the pendulum that swings one way and swings the other way? You've swung all this way, or you're catabolic, your muscles are starving, and then because you swung this way, now your pathways are sensitized, and now you can swing the other way and gain that much more muscle.
That's one of the biggest effects, yes.
And everything in the body is like this. Brain neurotransmitters for anti-aging, building muscle, burning fat, everything works along the pendulum theory. So like if you want to be average and mediocre, you try to maintain homeostasis all the time. You're not going to make any progress. You're not going to have an amazing life. But if you swing at one extreme and then swing at the other extreme, you can do amazing things.
Makes sense.
And then number 3 is the law of pathways. So any goal that you have, you want to break it down by path. And you can break it down like a tree and break it down into subcategories. But you have to have a visual of it. You have to understand, like you do, like when you're looking at muscle growth, you're looking at the androgen receptor and growth hormone and peptides. You're looking at all these different things, and you're looking for which one of these is the limiting factor, which one needs to be addressed. For example, you're not going to build much muscle if your thyroid levels are low. You're not going to burn much fat if your thyroid levels are low. So take all the testosterone you want, but the low thyroid is going to be your limiting factor, right? And then next is under the law of pathways is also prioritization. Like put the emphasis where it's needed. If your testosterone is low, prioritize bringing your testosterone up. Don't prioritize going and taking HGH. It's not going to do anything if you're deficient in testosterone.
Of course, yes.
And then limiting factors. And then 4 is every biological problem has a chemical solution. So you think like any problem you have with your body, your brain, anything, there is chemistry out there that exists to fix it or improve it. You just don't know it. You haven't figured it out yet. And you know already, you're a biohacker, you know there's a solution to so many different things, but open your mind even more. Like sometimes sit back and think all the problems in my life, relationship problems, motivation, sleep, whatever, there is a chemical solution to it. You just need to find it.
That's biohacking next level now. Okay.
And then next is chemical selection. So in order to choose what chemicals to use, balance the risk versus the benefit, choose the right chemistry, 80-20 rule, whether taking something is worth the energy test I put in here. You see how it's like laws of physics? So they're laws you can apply to any question. So if someone asks you, hey, is it worth taking ubiquinol and be like, okay, well, ubiquinol costs a lot of money, but let's look at like, what is your lipid profile? Holy cow, your LDL is way out of whack. Why are you going to waste $100 on ubiquinol when you can spend $10 on rosuvastatin and fix your LDL? It's like, is it worth it to actually take that, or should you be taking something else? And then cost versus the benefit, and law of utility versus toxicity. Every drug has an application. There's no such thing as a bad drug. Freedom versus control in the politics. Dosage and protocol rules. Minimum effective dosage. Law of diminishing returns. Tolerance and side effect aggregation. Some of these things we touched on. But use this as a guide. Build on it. Let me know if you have any way to improve it. But this is like this plus breaking down every goal of biohacking into pathways, because like this tells you that's one of the laws, but it doesn't actually say all the different pathways. So then there's the muscle building matrix, fat loss matrix, and these are good checklists. So you have all of this in your head already. You're an advanced biohacker. You coach a lot of people, but sometimes you might forget something. So if you put it in a matrix or something, you can use it like a troubleshooting guide, because one day you might forget, like, oh, I should have had him check his thyroid, because you were focused on all the other pathways and just forget that pathway. It's hard to remember all of it at the same time. So it's nice to put it down like a checklist for clients also. And I need to develop all the checklists for myself, because sometimes I forget things. Sometimes I do a consult with a client, and then afterwards I'm like, oh, I should have asked their insulin sensitivity. I forgot to figure out their insulin sensitivity. That affects so many things. Oh, and then I got to call him back and change the whole protocol and cycle. It's too hard to remember.
You don't always have to look on all, because it's so much. So you're focusing on one thing and you know everything, but there's like a big bunch of possibilities, and you can't always see everything. So that's a good guide.
This is a good project together. Let's make sure to button up these matrices and laws, and then it just makes everything easier. And then you spend less time forgetting things, and you can spend more time developing these checklists. And when you learn something new, like, okay, allopregnanolone deficiency, okay, wow, I didn't think about that until recently. Where does that fit in? Okay, add it in there. Now it's on the checklist.
So I will use that, and I will text you like the last time when we connected. And I'm really looking forward to see you next time. Maybe having a few training days and videos more like we had today.
Every time we talk, we build on it, and learn together. And there's not a lot of people in the world who do this, so we got to stick together. You know? It's us versus the medical mainstream, the mainstream supplement companies. Like, these are Goliaths, and we are, what's the guy against Goliath? David. We're the small guys. We're trying to teach people and give people the information and the tools to biohack themselves and improve their quality of life. And the media and everything is trying to convince people to go natural and go over these supplements that they make profit off of, stay away from the cures to diseases and focus on treating the symptoms. And we just want to help people.
That's what we do. So thank you very much, Tony Huge, for this beautiful podcast. Nice talk. And this day, we had a really, really nice day today, and you will see a lot of videos. Yeah, that's it.
And I'm getting younger by the day. So next time you see me, I'll look a lot younger. Right now, I'm under construction.
That's it. So see you next time at Iron Mike Bodybuilding. If you want to, subscribe this channel, and let us know what you think about
whether you want to or not subscribe to this channel.
That's it.
It's a directive.
And let us know what you think about biohacking in the comments below. And don't forget, we will say bye today with the words of Tony Huge, because a day, Natty, is
a day wasted.
You're never gonna make it, you're not good enough. There's a million other people with the same stuff. You really think you're different, man, you must be kidding. Think you're gonna hit it, but you just don't get it. It's impossible, it's not probable, you're irresponsible. Too many obstacles, you gotta stop it, yo. You gotta take it slow, you can't be a pro, don't waste your time no more. Who the fuck are you to tell me what to do? I don't give a damn if you say you disapprove. I'm gonna make my move, I'm gonna make it soon. And I'll do it cause it's what I wanna fucking do. Cause all these opinions and all these positions, they come in millions, they blocking your vision. But no, you can't listen, that shit is all fiction. Cause you hold the power as long as you're dreaming.